Let's go make a killing.
All right.
Welcome to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
10 to the 5 to the 4, play one, touchdown!
The sharpest football contest show in the land.
I'll take the action. My Birds, Benjamin Franklin's team, favored by 1.5 points. I'll give you 3 more.
You're now riding shotgun with 2 former contest winners in Brady, Kannon and James Salinas. And getting a former player's perspective with 9-year NFL veteran Mike Pritchard.
Let's go!
As they guide you through strategy, process, and your contest picks each and every week of the season.
I do like the idea of a parlay.
Now here's your host, Brady Kannon.
Welcome back, everybody, and happy Week 12 in the NFL season to all of you. Thank you for tuning in once again. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circus Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. I am Brady Kannon, along with my friends Mike Pritchard and James Salinas. Let's take a look at the lay of the land, what happened in Week 11 in football contest play in Las Vegas, the Westgate SuperContest. The consensus 5 went 2-3. Once again, the overall record there, 24-30-1. The Circus Sports Million, 2-3 as well, 22-33. The overall record on the season for the consensus there at Circa. Again, I say it every week. If you're waking up Sunday morning and just fading the consensus, 58% in your bank account right now of winners going against the consensus. Our entry, it was a few weeks back. In fact, our friend Las Vegas Chris put up a tweet a few weeks ago saying, hey, you've reached the second half of the season. Don't give up. You know, you've got goals you can set for yourself. And basically saying, hey, when you do get in the thick of it one of these times, you want to be ready for the pressure and know what it's like. Well, we decided here on the show, we're probably not going to win the thing, but we decided, hey, let's continue what we're doing, trying to pick winners, not going off the grid and trying to get rogue or anything. But let's see if we can stumble into a mini contest and knock on wood here a couple weeks in a row of 3-2 results. So not a bad start here for the final 9 weeks of the season. We've got a 6-week contest and a 9-week contest in the Las Vegas Super Contest that maybe we can get ourselves in the mix in. And of course, a couple quarterly contests remain in the Circus Sports Million that maybe we'll have some say-so in as well. Circus Survivor, nothing crazy in Week 11. 6 entries were eliminated, down to 99 entries that are still alive. The inherent value, now $144,000. A couple of our good friends still alive in Circus Survivor, Paul Bovey, and then also Tony Gordon looking for the double dip here. He's got a blue blazer, already winning the Circus Sports Million, now trying to add $14 million and a Circus Survivor title to his resume. Gentlemen, let's dive into the card. It is Week 12. James, as I always do, I'll start with you, my friend. Where are you headed this week in the NFL?
Well, I was searching the entire schedule, and I'm really bummed out that we don't have either the Jets or the Falcons playing this week, because these have been 2 teams we've been picking on, especially the Jets. I've been anti-Jets all season long, and those have been really one-way streets, especially when you're talking about the Jets more so than the Falcons. But last week we saw what happened to the Falcons too. So let's just start at the top of the card and looking at the Lions taking on the Colts. And the Lions, a big road favorite here, non-conference favorite. They're favored by 7 in the Super Contest, 7.5 and Circa. So I like the home spot. I like here with the home dog. It's thinking about where the Colts are. Made the switch back to Anthony Richardson. Was actually kind of surprised he actually threw the ball on time and with some accuracy, especially in the second half last week against the Jets. And now, granted, it was the New York Jets, and we've seen a lot of teams take advantage of that team throughout the season. But is Detroit, is this just going to continue? I mean, they clearly look like the best team in football and have played like that all season long. And really, in a sense, I think they're coming off their bye, fellas, coming off of Jacksonville, just a complete beatdown from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we know where that team is.
I think Jacksonville was on a bye that game too.
You think so? Yeah, they're talking about business decisions. I think that's the cliche going forward with a lot of these players, coaches, and franchises is who's making business decisions. I think right now for the Colts, the business is at hand to say we still have an opportunity to compete in the AFC South for the division, as well as fighting for the wild card. So plenty on the line for the Colts here in this spot, and plenty on the line for the Lions, looking at the 1 seed and as they march on in the NFC to look to put themselves represent in the Super Bowl this year. But is there finally going to be a flat spot somewhere? I think the Lions have a chip on their shoulder. They play like it, regardless of whether they're the favorite or the dog. They bring great effort and energy each and every week. But there are some key injuries to that Lions team, as in particular up the middle with their linebacking core. And I think maybe that's where we see the Colts try to take advantage of it from a physical standpoint, rushing the football, running not only with Richardson, but more so with JT, Jonathan Taylor, pushing the pace, keeping the ball, keeping that Lions team off on the sideline, being able to stay ahead of the sticks, third and short, third and manageable. And well, hell, anymore, it seems like it's a 4-down league. It seems like these coaches, Pritch, are all playing Madden out here. It doesn't matter where they're at. They're not they're not punting. They're not kicking field goals. They're going 4-on-4. We've seen it plenty out of the Colts here too, but keeping that Lions offense on the sidelines with this rushing game for the Colts. I think for the Colts here, this is as healthy as they've been, especially on the defensive side all season long. I like the Colts here in both contests, getting 7 in the SuperContest and also getting 7.5 in Circa, Bridge.
Yeah, you know what, James? I think that's solid play because, the Colts are getting better. I mean, think about how the team wanted Flacco, right? They felt like they were a better team with Flacco, and then Flacco turned into Flacco, a backup quarterback. And, I think you look at AR and Anthony Richardson in a situation of walking off the field because he was tired and certainly trying to earn his stripes and earn respect. He had the opportunity to do that on the road, and he did it. He made some big plays down the stretch as they beat the Jets. That game was more difficult than it should have been. I thought the Colts was taking care of business. They really could have controlled the game, but they did make it a little bit more difficult than they should have been. But at home, you'll get a better effort against the Lions too. The Lions are one of those teams now. They're like Kansas City, like they're going to get everybody's best shot. And I think the Colts feel like they're in it in terms of the playoff race. So yeah, that number is a big one. I think about the Lions trying to prepare not only for this game on the road, but coming back and then on a short week. So they have to prepare for that Thanksgiving Day game as well. So there's a lot of work on their plate. Let's just get the victory. We'll see if we can cover that number. I don't know. I mean, I'm not even going to think about that. But for us as players, I like to side with the Colts. Brady, another game that's standing out too is the Vikings-Bears. And because of the holiday, right? The Vikings and the Bears, you think about that matchup, familiar territory for the Vikings here. Darnold was playing, he was standing on his head last week, wasn't he? I mean, if they can get that kind of effort from Darnold and really play well and not, avoid the being Sam Darnold type of player, they got a good enough defense to kind of submit games away too. And just some brief analysis right there, Brady. I don't know what you think about that game. It's different. 3.5 there with Circa and then Westgate 3. But it's an interesting a divisional matchup right there with maybe a spot advantage for the Vikings as the Bears have that short week.
Yeah, I'll start with the Bears game. Obviously, a nice effort by the Bears last week that went sideways at the very end, similar to that Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs ending where the field goal was blocked. The Green Bay Packers blocked the Bears' attempt to win that game, and they walk away with a loss. We'll see how they respond here. Another division game at home where they've been very, very good against the number at home. That's been the best spot for the Chicago Bears. And I think a lot of people are going to run to the window with the Vikings here. But I think I'm going to stay away. I'm always leery of a team that is playing for the third week in a row on the road. And that's what we have here with the Minnesota Vikings. You mentioned Thanksgiving coming up for the Lions. Well, they're going to take on the Bears. So 3 division games in a row for Chicago. Just a weird situation here. I don't know if I want to back either side in this game. And back to the Lions game, James, I think you make a lot of great points. And Pritch, you as well, especially with the scheduling spot. They're going to be hosting Chicago on Thanksgiving. So a short week coming up for them. They come off of the Packers, the Texans, and Jacksonville. And then after Thanksgiving, they go back to the Packers once again. And then it's the Bills. I mean, they've got their schedule's pretty tough, and it feels like the Colts on the road laying a touchdown is a little bit of a possible flat spot. Maybe, finally, we can get this machine of the Detroit Lions to find themselves a flat spot in this schedule. We will see. It's risky going against this team. I agree with you, James. They are the very best team in the NFL. I've got some future investments in them to go to the Super Bowl. We'll come back and touch on another game that I am interested in Week 12, and that is the Cowboys visiting the Commanders. We return on the Las Vegas Football Contest show.
When the football contest crew isn't busy dominating the field and making plays that leave opponents in the dust, they're doing something just as exciting. They're playing My Vegas Slots. It's a top-ranked, free-to-play mobile app that lets you earn valuable real-world rewards from amazing partners like MGM Grand, Bellagio, and Norwegian Cruise Line. You can score hotel stays, great meals, show tickets, and more just for playing. Download My Vegas Slots today from your favorite app store. And if you're anything like Brady, James, and Mike, we know you're going to love it. That's a winning play you won't want to miss.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady, Kannon, Mike Pritchard, and James Salinas with you, continuing our breakdown of the NFL Week 12 card. And we have made our way to the NFC East matchup in the nation's capital, the Washington Commanders hosting the Dallas Cowboys. And guys, I have been all over Washington this season, either going against them or on them. And I like to be on them when they're playing a division game. And I'm not scared of the double digits here. I mean, we have seen how bad the Cowboys are. And when I was crunching all my numbers this week, boy, they are really bad. I mean, they're one of the worst 3 or 4 teams in all of football right now. And Washington, I think we've seen some people kind of catch on to what they're doing offensively. But this feels like a good spot for them to get right again and back to the way they were going when they were red hot earlier in the year. We'll see if we can take advantage of this Cowboys defense and lack of offense, lack of running game. Of course, Dan Quinn, the former defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, going up against his former team, who they beat Washington a couple of times last season. So a lot of things going on here. And James, again, we don't lay double digits too often, but you've got the home team here laying the big number rather than a road favorite, which we have a lot of here in Week 12. I'm not scared of the double digits. I'm okay with doing it with the Commanders here against the lowly Cowboys.
Well, I think that sentiment is going to be every team that the Cowboys play going forward. We know that big star on their helmet is a target, really, just with all the fanfare that they get. When's the last time they were in the Super Bowl? Is it? I was 30 years younger and had a lot more black and brown hair in my head. That was so proud there. Exactly right. Yeah, you were still giving back then. So again, the Cowboys, we get it. America's self-proclaimed America's team, but think about where Washington has been. 2 teams going in completely opposite directions. You mentioned it, Brady. Not only are they the Cowboys one of the worst teams in football, they are incredibly banged up on both sides of the ball. I think they're going to get a little healthier defensively, but it's going to be that offensive side. We saw them on Monday night against Houston. The offensive line was already beat up. They weren't very good to begin with. Their leader, Zach Markin, has not practiced all week. He went out in that game on Monday night. They lost a number of players due to injury. Jake Ferguson, probably their toughest guy in between the tight end, catching all the tough balls that nobody else wants to play and get after. He's probably not going to play with a concussion. So beyond just the injuries and where the mindset is, I think this is an opportunity for Washington. You think about where the coaching staff has been. You mentioned with the head coach coming back to Dallas, but I think more so just where, if you look at the games last year, I mean, Washington got completely blitzed by the Cowboys in both matchups, completely embarrassed. They finished out the season getting blown out at home. This is an opportunity not only to continue their play for 2024, but to look back on 2023 and get some revenge back on what the Cowboys have been doing to Washington over the years. I rarely ever do I lay it. When I do, when we're talking about 10 points, 2 scores in this league, to me, Pritch, this smells like an opportunity for Washington just to name their score. And the last piece here, you think about where they're at with Kingsbury running the offense here with Washington. There's been some talk about him potentially going to Dallas. Well, if he's going to be the head coach in Dallas next year, what better way to audition for the owner, Jerry Jones, than going and throttling your team and saying, that's why you need me, so you can get me out of Washington so I don't kick your ass like this every year like we did on Sunday. I do. I agree. I like Washington here. Let's lay the number. It's a big one, though.
All right, you 2 handicappers, help me out here. 10 points. You want to lay 10 points?
Well, so Pritch, let me ask you, how many points are Dallas going to score? We know their offense is super banged up. Can we get 24 points out of the Commanders? I think you get 24 points out of Washington, they're going to cover.
Right, right. It's interesting because, like I said, I'm not a handicapper. You guys are, and I've watched. Like, for instance, last night I watched Cleveland, 2-18, a team that doesn't even know how to tackle Jameis Winston. My God, all of a sudden he turned and resurrected his career last night because of emotion, right? And because of now they were at home playing their rival Pittsburgh, and they showed up and they beat Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh's one of those teams. Washington is one of those teams. I think they're an outlier, but in terms of rushing the football, they're in the top 5 along with the Eagles, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Chargers, and all those teams have great records. And so they know how to run the football as well as help out the young quarterback. It's just 10 points, right? And any type of emotion from the Cowboys, I wonder if they can be a little bit competitive in this one. But to your point, James, I mean, first one to 24. If it's Washington, can the Cowboys even score a touchdown or 2 touchdowns? I don't know if that's likely in this one, but it's 10 points. So, Brady, is there another game, Brady?
Yeah. Well, here's another really attractive one that you probably have a much easier time getting involved with. How about the Bucks at the Giants, Mike? You don't have any problem backing the Giants this week, do you?
Man, with the Giants, I just talked about emotion or lack thereof. I mean, good and bored that locker room. DeVito is going to get that locker room playing at a higher level. I don't see it. I don't even see Dayball playing at a high level either. Buccaneers are going to get Mike Evans back, and maybe that adds a spark to what Baker has been about. Baker's had his fine year this year. There's a good, in my opinion, there's a good thing about it having a good dog. I don't know if the Giants are a good dog, and that's where I'm at with that one. Going back to the other one with the Commanders, are they a dominant favorite, right? And that's where I'm at. I'm getting closer and closer to agreeing with you guys, but at 10 points, because Dallas is god awful. But my goodness, it is double digits still.
Well, from a contest standpoint, I think there's part of our philosophy here where we are in the contest is we kind of need to go against the grain a little bit. And I think that double digits, like with you, Mike, I think that double digit spread will scare some people away. Maybe we'll be in the minority. I don't know if Dallas is going to be in the majority as far as, which side of the game people are leaning towards, but I don't know if this game will be heavily played. So, we've said it a number of times. The games that you're playing in the contest are not necessarily the games that you're betting on Sunday morning. And I don't know if I may have Washington in a teaser or a money line parlay or something like that. I don't know if I'm going to lay the points running to the window, but in the contest, I think it's a good play. And I'm okay putting my money behind double digits in a contest sense. I have no problem betting against the Cowboys, put it that way. Yeah, the Giants, that's a whole nother story. You got the new quarterback bounce theory. Again, I don't know if that's enough. This locker room seems like a disaster here. We'll talk more about that one on the other side. Also get to the Patriots and their visit to South Florida and the Miami Dolphins when we return.
Want to enter the biggest and best football contests in Las Vegas, but don't know where to start? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed in the biggest football contests in the world. Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate SuperContest. Reserve the most trusted proxy service in the business now at footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have been leaders in the industry for 15 years. They submit your picks while you focus on picking winners. Experience matters. Go with the pros at footballcontest.com and start winning now.
Welcome back, everybody. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. We teased it in the last segment talking about the Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins have really been improving quite a bit as of late since Tua's return. It took a minute. They stumbled out of the gate. Of course, they lost to Arizona, but then a win over the Rams, an impressive victory last week over the Raiders. And in crunching the numbers this week, this team really has improved quickly. And I don't think they're great yet, but Tua has meant an incredible amount to this offense. The defense is playing better. And here they are in a division game laying 7 points at home to the New England Patriots. And And I don't know if my numbers have quite caught up to this turnaround that Miami is experiencing, because last week, I thought it was way too many to give the Raiders. That was not the case. This week, it looks like too many to give the Patriots. My numbers come to about 5 in favor of the Miami Dolphins. If we had to play this one, I'd be on the Patriots side, Pritch.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, divisional games are always interesting. The Patriots with Brady, they always had a difficult time against Miami for some reason, right? But now it's a different team, different makeup. They want to run the football, certainly play high percentage football and play good defense. And I think what Miami discovered without Tua is that they needed to get back to running football that way. And McDaniel has tried to do that, and it's helped them. One of the aspects I've looked at is points allowed, and because of a point differential thing, the Patriots have allowed 248 points, whereas Miami's allowed 221 points as a defense. So it's not that far apart. It's just scoring. Like Miami's been able to score more, certainly along the way than the Patriots. But I think the Patriots defense could probably keep this competitive. But it's a tough game to call. I mean, rookie quarterback on the road. Those are tough ones, tough situations right there for me. Brady, rookie quarterback on the road, and James, the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix. But I mean, this guy has awakened some people in terms of looking at him as rookie of the year again. Jaden Daniels was running away with it. But now you got Bo Nix playing highly efficient. You got Sean Payton really allowing him to grow into a role and develop into a quarterback. And the team is supporting him. They're playing complementary football from a defensive standpoint, then an offensive standpoint. He's using his legs as well. I think against this matchup with the Raiders, the rivalry is gone. It's not what it used to be when I was a player for the Broncos. But I will say this, I think the chip is on the shoulder of the Broncos in this matchup because they've just been dominated by the Raiders. And I think when you have a chance to make the playoffs and you have a devastating loss a couple of weeks ago, like the Broncos did against the Chiefs, you need to get back in that playoff race. And so I think they show up along with the thousands and thousands of fans here in Vegas, and they take it to the Raiders. And the Raiders are just decimated right now. No confidence at all. No confidence in the quarterback, the personnel, no confidence in the head coach. And then they're battered defensively, James. And we know that the Broncos, they do like to play a physical brand of football.
They've been physical on both sides of the ball, not just their defensive front. They really get after it. They rush. I think they're just behind Minnesota when it comes to rushing 5 guys or more, and they come from all different angles. So they've been really impressive on both sides of the football. You talked about Bo Nix and throwing on time, throwing in rhythm. That's really what Peyton is. That's what he wants to see, head coach Sean Payton for the Denver Broncos. It reminds me of when they had Drew Brees, same type of thing, on rhythm, on time. And that's what we're seeing. We're just seeing the continued growth and development, not only of Knicks, but of this entire offense. Will to rush the football, be physical up front, be the tougher team for 60 minutes out there. We saw that last week with Atlanta. Atlanta didn't want any part of playing alpha football. That was all straight up alpha ball on both sides of the ball. And you saw Atlanta completely wilt to that type of football. Well, the Raiders here, not saying that they're the beta here, but they are so beat up and banged up. And then this team, you're going to see a whole new coaching staff for this Raiders team. And I think for the Broncos, since the Raiders have moved to Las Vegas, they have not won in Las Vegas. They're 0-4. And now you're playing the role of the favorite so far right now with the Broncos. Well, it's kind of interesting. So far as a favorite this season, Brady, 4-0 are the Denver Broncos. I know it's a big number as a division team on the road here with the Broncos, but to me, there's only one team out there, and it's the Denver Broncos. 5.5 in one contest, 6 in the circa. I like laying it. Let's lay it in both ones. What do you say?
Yeah, my numbers come to 8 on the Denver Broncos. I made the line. What did I make the line? I think I made it. Let me see here. I actually made it 4.5, just my own kind of guess. But then when I dive into the numbers and I crunch all the stats, it comes out to the Broncos by 8. And I have been sold by you two guys and kind of convincing myself that it is. There's so many road favorites this week. It's really hard to decide which ones are going to cover and which ones maybe that stage is too big. But I'm with you. I think, the Peyton, the chip on his shoulder, the mismatch versus Antonio Pierce, the injuries for the Raiders. And we were talking about it earlier in our pre-show meeting. You might have 70% of that that stadium in orange come Sunday. You've got F1 out here this weekend in Las Vegas. There's going to be a lot of out-of-towners attending that football game, and I don't know how many Raider fans are going to be in the stands there at Allegiant Stadium. Survivor Talk when we return on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
San Diego is home to Wolfpack Hospitality Restaurants, located in beautiful La Jolla. Stop by Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria on your next trip. Visit Cove House, a top 100 brunch in California, or Shore Rider, serving up margaritas, fish tacos, and a vibe that will make you feel like a regular in no time. For a slice of New York-style pizza with a California twist, it's Dough Mama Pizzeria, where the wings and pizza draw compliments from around the world. Go to wolfpackhospitality.com, and we will look forward to seeing you at Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria.
Want to gamble like the pros? At LasVegasAdvisor.com, you'll find the world's best how-to books, software, and strategy cards featuring blackjack, poker, video poker, and of course, sports betting, including the Stanford Wong Classic Sharp Sports Betting. Don't forget LVA's Member Rewards coupon book, offering discounts on dining and entertainment, including a buy one, get one for the awesome lobster buffet at the Palms, and more than $700 in gambling-free play, match play, and bonus offers. Up your gambling game today at LasVegasAdvisor.com.
Welcome back into the second half of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, presented by our friends at Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. It is time to dive into the contest show from a Survivor perspective. We have 99 entries left in Circa Survivor, and our friends Paul Bovey and Tony Gordon are a couple of those live entries that remain. Rooting for those two guys to take part in cashing out of that $14.2 million top prize. Not a whole lot of damage last week. You see the 49ers there and the Browns were the only teams that eliminated anybody. 6 entries were eliminated in week 11. I have to believe the Commanders are going to be the most popular pick this week, guys. We talked about all the road favorites. The Commanders, a big home favorite, laying 10 or 10.5 to the Cowboys. We've talked about that game from an against the spread perspective. We think the Commanders not only win, but cover the number as well. That's surely to be a popular one, I imagine. Other games, you've got, big favorites, the Chiefs. The Chiefs, an 11 or 10-point road favorite at Carolina. The Texans, a 7 or 7.5 point home favorite taking on the Titans. We've seen the Titans really be a punching bag for a lot of teams that guys are choosing to go against in Circa Survivor. Where would you go, James, if you're in a Survivor contest around the world, what have you, or here locally at Circa? Where would you be headed here in week 12?
Well, I have to consider if it's Circa, because it's a whole different animal when you're talking about the Thanksgiving piece, as well as Friday, the Black Friday, and that's the Chiefs and the Raiders. And thinking about the last time the Chiefs played on a holiday, that was last year on Christmas Day to those same Raiders, and they lost at home. Clearly, they were still getting into their stockings from Christmas Eve into Christmas morning. It didn't show up in that game. I think that taste is going to linger with them, and that's not going to happen again, especially with the state of where the Raiders team is right now, personnel-wise, staffing-wise, the whole thing. So I think from that perspective, depending on, again, based on availability, I would want to hang on to the Chiefs for that perspective, because if we're going into Thanksgiving week, and I have both if we had the Chiefs as well as the Lions, but I think as far as the Chiefs are concerned, that'd be the play there. For Washington, I don't know if you're going to play Washington anywhere else. You may still have them available, most likely, depending on. I think Washington has probably exceeded everyone's expectations as far as handicapping from a week-to-week perspective of where they've been as a franchise and how bad they've been, to such a resurgence with the new coaching staff, new ownership, new quarterback, and a whole new outlook as far as being competitive in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, that's the first one you're going to go to, is going to be Washington. But if you didn't have them available, that's the key. You got to look at what's going on this coming Thursday/Friday. And if it's not going to be there, man, you've got so many home dogs. It's difficult. I think we have 8 home dogs on the card this week. So that means if you're taking that favorite, you're taking that road favorite. And I probably want to try to stay away from road favorites going in as a division favorite. So a team like, for instance, maybe not so much on the road here, but I don't know, Pritch, thinking about if you had the Texans right now and you are at home, but you are a significant favorite of 7.5 in these contests, Is it can you get on board to say, well, maybe this is the spot to take the Texans, especially where they've been rushing the football on the other side with the Titans, pretty banged up defense. They've been playing defense all season long, been hanging on to him and making up for Will Levis and the inaccuracies that we've seen out of the quarterback spot. Maybe Houston would be the spot that you'd take that, because I don't think going forward there'd be another spot for them.
Yeah, it gets tricky. I mean, here's where you need some onions for sure, because think about this. Like, availability is everything. Like, if you only have one entry left, you have a decision to make, because next week you're probably saving Detroit for next week, and so you're hoping Detroit, as a large road favorite, gets through. And maybe they squeak by and they're gearing up for Thanksgiving, right? You really want that to happen. If you're the Cowboys, I mean, my goodness. Now, here's the interesting thing about the Cowboys. They've been blown out at home. But what's to stop Jerry Jones from saying to almost all the starters out there, there's an extra $50,000 in your paycheck if you get this win on Thanksgiving, because we don't lose in Dallas on Thanksgiving, right? And if you're looking to fade the Cowboys or whatever, but it gets difficult for me when you're trying to figure out who to go with. The Commanders is a logical play, large home favorite. Fade them against the Cowboys, as the Cowboys will gear up certainly for that Thanksgiving matchup anyway against the Giants. So I think if you have one entry, you go about it that way. It's like we saw the availability, and we saw 6 people get eliminated, or 6 entries get eliminated. And there was a few people on the Browns, and you're wondering, okay, why would they select the Browns on the road against the Saints? But that maybe some logic. I don't know what played into that logic other than having multiple entries. But even if you had multiple entries, why would you waste one when you're so close to the prize anyway? Because to me, that was a waste. And I think the 49ers have just been a disappointment. But it gets tricky down the stretch here, and how you navigate Thanksgiving, Black Friday, then on into Christmas too, because you mentioned the Texans, James. I think the Texans are involved in Christmas. Nice schedules.
Yeah, they host the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas Day, which is, again, a separate week in Circa Survivor. So, I mean, you're right, Pritch. It takes some onions this time of the year, and really some navigating of the schedule. You've got the Lions would be a great pick on Thanksgiving. The Packers are at home in Lambeau, taking on a warm weather team in the Dolphins on Thanksgiving. And of course, that's just next week. And then Black Friday, that counts as well. The Chiefs hosting the Raiders. The Chiefs also play on Christmas. They're on the road at the Steelers, the Ravens at the Texans, and the Seahawks at the Bears. James, you've got the Chiefs playing on both holidays, both holiday weeks. That, of course, are separate weeks in Circa Survivor. But from an against the spread perspective, I made the Chiefs 14.5. I was surprised by this 10-point line, 11-point line. You may not want to use them for Circa Survivor. It feels like an easy one. But, talk to me. I mean, are they going to win this game by margin? And would that translate into a possible play, especially if you had multiple entries in Circa Survivor?
For Kansas City, they haven't been covering these numbers. They're just trying to get through it. And we saw last week what happened with the game at the Bills. I mean, that was that felt like a playoff game, right? It was a tremendous game and high level football. Maybe it's more so, all right, now they can say this, and they're clearly the better team on paper in this matchup against Carolina. But when you're talking about the numbers, well, Carolina has been able to find themselves a little bit, coming back from that trip to Germany, being able to beat the New York Giants and maybe have 2 wins in a row. When's the last time Carolina won 2 years in a row, 2 games in a row? It's been a couple. I'm sure it's been more than 3 years ago before 2 years, because it definitely wasn't last year. But I just think for a team, like if you're playing the Lions and you have Kansas City, then maybe this is the spot to take Kansas City. Kansas City now doesn't have I think the challenge would be, you're looking that far ahead, talking to Christmas, man, what a challenge that is going to be, trying to find these where the other game is Minnesota, or it's Seattle at Chicago. Brutal. Yeah. Tough games to think about that far. Really, if you only have one entry, and I think that's the majority of the folks left in this contest, there's a lot of sleepless nights been going on for a number of weeks. And I'm sure now they've already been finding ways, not so much to hedge, but to be able to find some way to sell off pieces of their entry to get some other people on board and ensure yourself that you've got a profit. Because I think beyond Thanksgiving, you start digging into these final weeks and you get to that Christmas week. I don't know. I had to have the answers, Brady. I'm not a big survivor guy. I'd rather pick the teams against the number than trying to figure out. It's hard to figure out who week in and week out. Pritch, to your point, thinking about Cleveland, absolutely no effort on that game against the Taysom Hill was reincarnated as Walter Payton in that game. We saw that. No tackling. I thought the Browns took them tackling lessons or lack thereof against what we've seen from the Jets all season long. And then what do you see? You see last night on Thursday night, Grib, a great effort and end up pulling out and winning that divisional game against the Steelers on a short week. So we know this. It's a week-to-week league. I think in this case here, it is the name, Brady. It is Survivor, Survive in Advance. To me, it's Washington. That would be the play if I had it available.
Yep, I'm 100% with you. We like Washington against the spread as well. I'm not sure if I like the Texans against the spread. The Titans seem to look good against the number every week, yet they never cover. So who knows? But we are certainly rooting for Paul Bovey and Tony Gordon as Circa Survivor rolls on, one of the 99 entries remaining. We'll be back with some more against the spread talk when we return on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Looking for your next ultimate golf experience? Discover Valley High Golf Club, a tropical paradise on the Las Vegas Strip, featuring lush greenery, water features, Balinese tropical plants, white sand, and black volcanic rock, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Valley High creates a memorable golf experience for a typical foursome, a group celebrating a bachelor or bachelorette party, or your next corporate outing. It's award-winning golf on the Strip, Vegas style. Book your ultimate golf experience now at valleyhighgolfclub.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Brady Kannon, James Salinas, and Mike Pritchard with you. We dive back into the games for Week 12 from an against the spread perspective, and we have come to Lambeau Field, the site of Sunday's contest between the San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. And the San Francisco 49ers are in the role of an underdog, and it's getting even bigger as we speak. Brock Purdy's status is unknown. It is believed that Nick Bosa and Trent Williams will not play. And the Packers, James, with some playoff revenge on their mind.
Definitely thinking about how they've, dominated the first half and completely flipped the script last year in the playoffs at San Francisco. And again, these coaches playing Madden, and LaFleur never met a fourth down he didn't want to go for, but it's kind of the norm now. This is no longer the exception when it comes down to whether you're not going to put your punt team and or your kicking team. And I'm not one to try to advocate for field goal kickers. I typically don't like to see them on the field, but for this matchup here, we know where the San Francisco 49ers are from a mindset of just trying to get through these games. We know that they've been so successful over the last few years, and they take everybody's best shot too. And man, they are really beat up. And I think from Purdy's perspective, read earlier that he had an MRI. They said they're comfortable with where the MRI is. Didn't give any context to it, but anytime you're having to have a MRI done, obviously there's an issue going on there. He's got a short shoulder, not able to push the ball down the field with any velocity or depth. And that really shrinks down brings your safeties down. And San Francisco wants to be a run heavy team. And from Green Bay's perspective, Brady, you mentioned where their mindset is. I don't know, were they looking ahead to this game when you have a division game last week at Chicago? They sure look like it because they were very vanilla on both sides of the ball. I'd like Green Bay here. Obviously, I think this is going to be one of the top contest picks because of where that number is. Both contests, both in the Circa Millions as well as the Superbook. It's sitting at 2, and now you've said it. It's basically painted live line right now, 3.5 across the board because of these injuries. And it's not just to Purdy. A left tackle is beat up there with Trent Williams, best offensive lineman, whether he's questionable to play. Bosa is really beat up. They've really missed Greenlaw all season long at the linebacker spot. So very thin up front. And I think that's what we've seen, Pritch, with this team is they take everybody's best shot, but because of the lack of depth, especially at the front four, the front seven, we're seeing in the second half, they're really starting to wilt because they are so banged up and they're having to play a lot of guys. The rotation isn't nearly as deep, and we're starting to see these teams wear down the San Francisco 49ers. Usually, Pritch, it's the other way around, whereas the 49ers really a game of attrition wearing down their opponents. And we've seen the exact opposite so far this season with San Francisco because of the injuries, because of the lack of depth on that defensive side. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. We're going to be on the consensus along with everybody else. I think there's no way I can make a case for the 49ers here at a short number, a bad number in this spot, having to go to Green Bay. Yeah, I think unfortunately for San Francisco, this is just not going to be the season.
Yeah, go to Green Bay with a banged up quarterback. And he's had history with that throwing arm, shoulder now. I mean, think about the ligament damage he had. He had surgery there. So maybe that's why they wanted to do an MRI, just to make sure everything's okay. Because you never know about those things, right? I mean, think about baseball pitchers and the surgeries that they have there with their throwing motion and throwing elbow. But that aside, when McCaffrey came back, I think a lot of people thought everything was going to be okay for the 49ers. Now they can get to that personnel advantage and everything like that. But teams have found out how to defend the 49ers because, frankly, there's a lot of teams doing what the 49ers do from a scheme standpoint, right? So now do they have better players or are their players getting older? I think the common theme or the common thought in the league amongst players is that team's old. Green Bay's a younger team. Green Bay's a hungrier team. Green Bay's one of those, okay, we got to knock off the 49ers team. And they almost did that in the playoffs, right? And I think, Brady, you mentioned that, playoff revenge here. And you got this team at home. There's a lot of people that don't want to see the 49ers get back to the playoffs. And if you're the Packers, you do not want to see the 49ers get back to the playoffs. So you got to take care of business at home right there. I think the motivation, the youth, and then a clean game from the Packers should get them to cover this number against the 49ers, an ailing 49ers football team. So I love that matchup. Brady, there's a game out there that has me confused from a line standpoint, and that's the Eagles and the Rams. The Eagles, they have to be playing the best football in the National Football League right now, but yet they're only laying 3 against an up and down Rams team, a Rams team that made big plays against New England, but yet New England still was in that game late, and it was a more competitive contest than a lot of people thought.
Yeah, no, you're right. The Rams are up and down. And, we said it here on this show a couple weeks ago that their stock was getting pretty high. I think they'd won 3 games in a row, and they go into that Monday night game against the Dolphins. And I was like, I don't know, man. They're getting propped up pretty high by everybody, the general public, the perception. And sure enough, the Dolphins caught them. And then they go on the road. They take care of business against New England. I'm with you. I made this line the Eagles by 5. And then it comes out 2.5. Now, the Eagles have been bet up to 3. So, that's something there. When a 2.5 turns into a 3, that's a pretty big move. We'll see if it gets to 3.5. But you're right. Something smells a little funny. When I crunch all the stats, I have the Eagles by double digits. So, yeah, the fact that this line is so low has me a little bit confused. And we talked about it earlier. Which road favorite do you land on this week? Because you pretty much can't avoid taking one or at least going against one. They're all over the card this week. James, I don't know what your thoughts are on this game, but something about that line is a little bit fishy. If I had to play it, though, I have to go with the hot hand. And I think really becoming a contender to go deep into the playoffs are the Philadelphia Eagles.
I just have pause with Philly anytime it's Nick Sirianni is still the head coach, and the bonehead decisions that he makes in game for this team, that's always going to be pause for concern for me, especially when we handicap games, players, matchups, all those things. Got to handicap the guys wearing the headsets too. And for me, it's McVay versus Sirianni. I'll take McVay at home in that spot just from an X's and O's standpoint in game, being able to manage the game. And a couple of things here. I don't like the corners. They're young. They're inexperienced. It's not a good secondary for the Rams. We've seen them be exposed at times so far this season. But already it's been declared Devontae Smith will not be out there. He's going to take the top off the defense. Well, for the wide receiver standpoint for Philly, it's not going to be there. He's out this week with a hamstring injury. So I think that's probably, for me, I don't want to take the Rams in this spot because of how hot Philly has been, but I really don't want to take Sirianni in a big spot here on the road. I think he's going to find a way to make a bad decision and lose this game for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, we'll see if that game is a pass or a play for us. When we return on the other side, we'll reveal all of our plays on both the Circa Sports Million card and the Westgate Super Contest when we return right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, invites you to play the best keno and video poker in Las Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars with ongoing promotions, daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, Aviators tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only great gaming at Steiner's, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and the best appetizers to match. Steiner's, the Nevada-style pub, with 3 locations across the Vegas Valley. Steiner's, I love this place.
It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, final segment, and we're releasing our plays for this week, Week 12, in both the Circa Sports Million and the Westgate Super Contest. I will start with the Super Contest. We have the Colts catching a full touchdown, 7 points in the Super Contest. The Commanders laying 10 and a hook. We're not afraid to lay the big number against the Dallas Cowboys. The Broncos laying 5.5 here in Las Vegas against the Raiders. The Packers laying 2 at home against the San Francisco 49ers. And then finally on Monday night, we'll take the Chargers getting 3 in the Super Contest. And we're on the same teams in Circa Sports Million, but some different numbers. We're getting 7.5 with the Colts. We are only laying 10, not laying the hook, with the Commanders, laying an extra hook there with the Broncos, laying 6 to the Raiders. Same number with the Packers, a 2-point favorite over San Francisco. And we're only getting 2.5 with the Chargers on Monday night against the Ravens. And then our Pizza Money prop play of the week presented by Dom DeMarco's in downtown Summerlin. Check out this wonderful pizza place when you're coming to town. Say hi to our boy Al Scalliott over there. Our Dom DeMarco's Pizza Money prop play of the week. Cortland Sutton, the wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. He'll be here in town. We are betting on him to go over 58.5 receiving yards against that depleted secondary of the Las Vegas Raiders. You got to lay minus 114 there. Again, Cortland Sutton over 58.5 receiving yards. Pritch, I know this is one you had your eye on all week.
Yeah, going back to the well with the wide receivers, got to get it done with those fellas, right? And Cortland Sutton's a beast. When I was out in Colorado and Denver, I saw him play basketball. He's just an athletic freak, now healthy too. And like you mentioned, Brady, guess who's going to be the defensive backs for the Raiders in this matchup? Because Jacorian Bennett's out, Nate Hobbs is out, and Jack Jones with a back. He's probably not going to be that effective anyway. So I think as a number 1 wide receiver with the Broncos, short passes, high percentage passes, deep routes, all this stuff is on the table for Cortland Sutton, and his ability to go over 58.5 receiving yards. I think that's in the cards for the Broncos here in town against the Raiders. You know, one of those games, James, that we have not broken down yet. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, though. It's on our card, and everybody's got their eyes on this game. That's going to be the Chargers and the Ravens. What did you see in this matchup?
Thinking about, the Harbaugh brothers, and we've seen this in the past. In particular, I think about the Super Bowl. I don't know what number it is. I can't ever read those Roman letters or Roman numeral numbers, but it was it was what, 12? I know it was 2012. That was the year, because I had a great future on. I still drive the truck from that future. That was a great one when we had the matchup of the Ravens and the 49ers. But now thinking about where this Chargers team has come from, I think we saw the absolute best of the Chargers on Sunday night last week against the Cincinnati Bengals in the first half, and then really almost the worst of the Chargers in that second half, not being able to get off the field. And if it were not for a couple of missed McPherson field goals towards the latter part of that game, we might be saying, well, here we go again. The Chargers find a way to charger again, regardless of who the coach is. But, you know, I've such great strides we've seen in the identity of what the Chargers want to be, not only physically up front rushing the football. They got a tremendous offensive line, but I think now you're starting to see the emergence of the passing game with Justin Herbert, really because he's healthy. He hurt his ankle and really fought through that ankle injury in the first quarter of the season. Fully healthy now. We see, and he's actually rushing the football and making big plays with his legs in addition to his big arm. And Harbaugh absolutely loves him here. And, you know, it's going to be a great matchup of quarterback v. quarterback. But I think the intel, not only from the brothers, but having Greg Roman rushing this offense, thinking about where this Chargers team is, playing at home on Monday night. I thought we typically don't see that. The Chargers have been the stepchild there in Los Angeles since they not only moved, but they've never had a great fan base, whether they're in Los Angeles or in San Diego. But man, they really had the crowd back behind them last week in that overtime win against the Cincinnati Bengals. And so in this case here, getting numbers at home as the underdog are the Chargers, Brady. I like the Chargers in this spot against the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm with you, James. You know, the Ravens defense, their pass defense keeps just about anybody in the game. Justin Herbert ought to have a big night. When I crunched the numbers, I came out to this game as basically a pick-em. So yeah, I'll take the 2.5. I'll take the 3. I think it'll be a great contest on Monday night. The Harbaugh brothers doing battle. That one does make our card. 3 in the SuperContest plus 2.5 in the Circa Sports Million. We're also on the Packers -2, the Broncos over the Raiders, the Commanders laying a big number, double digits at home against the Cowboys, and the Colts getting a touchdown or even 7.5 as they host the very powerful Detroit Lions. That is going to do it for the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by our friends at Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Have a great week 12, everybody. Enjoy the show. We'll be back with more next week as our pursuit of the mini contest continues right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Thanks for tuning in to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Don't you just love football? God, what a fun sport.
Subscribe today on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to receive weekly alerts as soon as the show's available. Good luck with your contest selections.
Pay that man his money.
And we'll talk to you next week.